Namaste, Dandavat Pranam. By the instruction and grace of our spiritual master Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj, we are here reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're also paying our humble obeisance to Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada for providing us this wonderful commentary and translation of Srimad Bhagavatam, and following the guidance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we are praying to Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī. Yadi sevā-vañcitāḥ yasyāḥ kṛpayā vayaṃ labhema sarvaṃ prāpnumaḥ prayojanaṃ dhāmni śrī-bhagavat pade Kṛṣṇa-sambandhi sarvaṃ ca Yadi na jānīmahe tutam Aṣṭādaśasu sahasreṣu ślokānāṃ bhagavat-oktiṣu Rādhārānīṃ na vindamātada nishphalam bhagavat adhyayanam radhikaya kripam vina vyartasyat sarva-pariśramaḥ. If we are cheated out of serving that personality whose mercy awards us everything we need, including residence in the Lord's holy Dham and all things connected to Krishna, and if we cannot understand or discover Rādhārānīṃ within the 18,000 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, then our study of Srimad Bhagavatam has been pointless. Without the mercy of Śrīmatī Rādhārāṇī, all of our efforts are in vain. So we are continuing our reading from Canto 5, Chapter 19, Text 26. Jai Shraddhaya Parhishi Bhagasho Havir Niruptam Ishtam Vidhi Mantra Vashtutaha Eka Pratan Namabir Ahutamudha Muda Granati Purnasvayam Ashisham Prabhahu. In India, Bharatavarsha, there are many worshippers of the demigods, the various officials appointed by the Supreme Lord such as Indra, Chandra, and Surya, all of whom are worshipped differently. The worshippers offer the demigods their oblations, considering the demigods part and parcel of the whole, the Supreme Lord. Therefore, the Supreme Personality of Godhead accepts these offerings and gradually raises the worshippers to the real standard of devotional service by fulfilling their desires and aspirations. Because the Lord is complete, He offers the worshippers the benedictions they desire, even if they worship only part of His transcendental body. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 9.13, Lord Krishna says, Mahatmanastu mam partha daivim prakritim ashrita bhajantyananya manaso gyatva buddhitim avyayam. O son of Pritha, those who are not deluded, the great souls, are under the protection of the divine nature. They are fully engaged in devotional service because they know me as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, original and inexhaustible. Mahatma, advanced devotees, worship only the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Others, however, who are also sometimes called Mahatmas, worship the Lord as ekatvena, prithaktveṇa. In other words, they accept the demigods as different parts of Krishna and worship them for various benedictions. Although the devotees of the demigods thus achieve the desired results offered by Krishna, they have been described in Bhagavad Gita as hrita gyan, not very intelligent. Krishna does not desire to be worshipped indirectly through the different parts of his body. Krishna wants direct devotional worship. Therefore, a devotee who directly worships Lord Krishna through staunch devotional service, as recommended in Srimad Bhagavatam, Tivrena Bhakti Yogena Yajeta Purusham Param, from Canto 2, Chapter 3, Text 10. This devotee is very quickly elevated to the transcendental position. Nevertheless, devotees who worship the demigods, the different parts of the Lord, receive the benedictions they desire, because the Lord is the original master of all benedictions. If anyone wants a particular benediction for the Lord to award, it is not at all difficult. Text 27. Satyam disatyartitam artito nrinam naivartado yat punar artita yata svayam vidhate bhajatam anichatam icha pidhanam nija padhapalavam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead fulfills the material desires of a devotee who approaches him with such motives, but he does not bestow benedictions upon the devotee that will cause him to demand more benedictions again. However, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at his own lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it, and that shelter satisfies all his desires. That is the Supreme Personality's special mercy. Purport. The devotees mentioned in the previous verse approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead with their material motives, but this verse explains how such devotees are saved from those desires. Bhagavatam verse 2.3.10 advises, akama sarva kamova moksha kama udharadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Whether one is freed from all material desires, is full of material desires, or desires to become one with the Supreme, he should engage in devotional service. In this way, not only will the devotee's desires be fulfilled, but the day will come when he will have no other desire than to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. One who engages in the service of the Lord with some motive is called a sakama bhakta. Sakama, right, kama, bhakta. And one who serves the Lord without any motives is called a akama bhakta. Krishna is so merciful that he turns a sakama bhakta into an akama bhakta. A pure devotee, an akama bhakta, who has no material motives, is satisfied simply to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 6.22. Yam labdva chaparam labham manyate nadikam tattaha. If one engages in the service of the Lord, in service of the lotus feet of the Lord, he does not want anything more. This is the highest stage of devotional service. The Lord is so kind, even to a sakama bhakta, a motivated devotee, that he satisfies his desire in such a way that one day he becomes an akama bhakta. Dhruva Maharaj, for example, became a bhakta with the motive of getting a better kingdom than that of his father. But finally he became an akama bhakta and said to the Lord, Swamin kritarto smi varam nayache. My dear Lord, I am very satisfied simply to serve your lotus feet. I do not want any material benefits. Sometimes it is found that a small child eats dirty things, but his parents take away the dirty things and offer him a sandesh or some other sweetmeat. Devotees who aspire for material benedictions are compared to such children. The Lord is so kind that he takes away their material desires and gives them the highest benediction. Therefore, even for material motives, one should not worship anyone other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One must fully engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord, so that all his desires will be fulfilled at the end, so he can go back home, back to Godhead. This is explained in Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 22.37 through 39 and 41, as follows. Anyakami, a devotee, may desire something other than the service to the lotus feet of the Lord. Yadi kare Krishnara bhajana. If he engages in Lord Krishna's service, na magiteha Krishna-tare dena svacharana, Krishna gives him shelter at his lotus feet, even though he does not aspire for it. Krishna kahe, the Lord says, Ama bhaje, he is engaged in my service. Mage vishaya shuka, but he wants the benefits of material sense gratification. Amrita chari vishamage. Such a devotee is like a person who asks for poison instead of nectar. E bada morka. That is his foolishness. Ami vigya. But I am experienced. E morke vishaya kene diba. Why should I give such a foolish person the dirty things of material enjoyment? Svacharanamrita. It would be better for me to give him shelter at my lotus feet. Vishaya bulaiba. I shall cause him to forget all material desires. Kama lagi Krishna bhaje. If one engages in the service of the Lord for sense gratification, paya Krishna rase. The result is that he then gives up all material desires. If one engages in the service of the Lord for sense gratification, paya Krishna rase, the result is that he ultimately gets a taste for serving the Lord's the lotus feet of the Lord. Kama chadi dha haite haya abhilase. He then gives up all material desires and wants to become an eternal servant of the Lord. This will be our last verse today. Text 27. Satyam dishatyartitam artito naivartado yat punar artitayata svayam vidhate bhajatam anichatam icha pidhanam nija padha palavam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead fulfills the material desires of a devotee who approaches him with such motives. But he does not bestow benedictions upon the devotee that will cause him to demand more benedictions again. However, the Lord willingly gives the devotee shelter at his own lotus feet, even though such a person does not aspire for it, and that shelter satisfies all his desires. That is the Supreme Personality's special mercy. Purport. The devotees mentioned in the previous verse approach the Supreme Personality of Godhead with material motives, but this verse explains how such devotees are saved from those desires. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.3.10 advises, akama sarva-kamo va moksha kama udharadi tivrena bhakti yogena yajeta purusham param. Whether one is freed from all material desires, is full of material desires, or desires to become one with the Supreme, he should engage in devotional service. In this way, not only will the devotee's desires be fulfilled, But the day will come when he will have no other desire than to serve the lotus feet of the Lord. One who engages in the service of the Lord with some motive is called a sakama bhakta, and one who serves the Lord without any motives is called an akama bhakta.
Didn't we read this already? It sounds very familiar.
Yeah, I don't know how this happened. um, hmm. Hold on. So yeah, we just finished reading 27, and so we should be on 28.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened there. Sometimes it gets messed up because up top it doesn't update. Let's see. Keep it true. Okay. Sorry about that. Text 28. Yadyatra nasvarga sukhavasheshitam sritasya shuktasya kritasya shobhanam tena janaibe smriti majjanma nasyad varshe hariryad bhajatam samtanoti. We are now living in the heavenly planets undoubtedly as a result of our having performed ritualistic ceremonies, pious activities, and yagyas, and having studied the Vedas. However, our lives here will one day be finished. We pray that at the time, if any merit remains from our pious activities, we may again take birth in Bharatavarsha as human beings able to remember the lotus feet of the Lord. The Lord is so kind that he personally comes to the land of Bharatavarsha and expands the good fortune of its people. Purport. It is certainly as a result of pious activities that one takes birth in the heavenly planets, but from those planets one must nevertheless come down again to earth, as stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.21. Chine punye martya lokam vishanti. Even the demigods must return to earth to work like ordinary men when the results of their pious activities expire. Nevertheless, the demigods desire to come to the land of Bharatavarsha if even a small portion of the merits of their pious activities remains. In other words, to take birth in Bharatavarsha, one must perform more pious activities than the demigods. In Bharatavarsha, one is naturally Krishna conscious, and if one further cultivates his Krishna consciousness, by the grace of Krishna, he certainly expands his good fortune by becoming perfect in Krishna consciousness, and very easily going back home, back to Godhead. In many other places in the Vedic literature, it is found that even the demigods want to come to this land of Bharatavarsha. A foolish person may desire to be promoted to the heavenly planets as a result of his pious activities. But even the demigods from the heavenly planets want to come to Bharatavarsha and achieve bodies that may be very easily used to cultivate Krishna consciousness. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu repeatedly says, Bharata Bhumite Hayala Manusya Janma Yara Janma Sartaka Karikara Para Upkara. Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Lila, Chapter 9, Text 41. A human being born in the land of Bharatavarsha has the special prerogative to develop Krishna consciousness. Therefore, those already born in Bharatavarsha should take lessons from the Shastras and Guru, and should fully take advantage of the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in order to be fully equipped with Krishna consciousness. By taking full advantage of Krishna consciousness, one goes back home, back to Godhead. Yanti mad yagino pi mam. The Krishna consciousness movement is therefore spreading this facility to human society by opening many, many centers all over the world so that people may associate with the pure devotees of Krishna consciousness movement, understand the science of Krishna consciousness, and ultimately go back home, back to Godhead. Okay, so we will continue from text 29 on Wednesday. So, sakama and akama, right? These are the terms. So the root word is kama, which means lust. And then whenever is in front of a word, normally it means the negation of the word. So akama means not to have lust. And sa is an affirmative. It means to have lust or desire. So either way, Krishna will take care of his the person who comes to him, whether they come to him motivated by some material desire or they have some pure spiritual desire to just serve him. Either way, Krishna will take care of them.
That's smart. That's smart. Get them started, and then they will be a true devotee.
Of course, free will is there, so he never crosses free will, because free will is necessary for love to be there. If it's not a choice, then there's nothing loving there. It's just some forced mechanical behavior. But if free will is there, then when that free choice to serve Krishna comes, it's very beautiful and relishable for both Krishna and the devotee. So he helps, like the text was saying, Prabhupada was explaining, he gives them the material thing, but he gives it to them in such a way that they have the opportunity to learn why maybe that material thing isn't so desirable actually. He gives it to them, but in such a way that they see, oh, I really wanted this, but actually it's not what I thought it was. And then they might be more inclined to choose to go in the direction of Krishna consciousness rather than be continually locked into this loop of material desire and attainment and not feeling so satisfied. So let's go for something else that's material, this carrot on a stick kind of thing, right? So that's his mercy. Any other points for discussion before we close today? Uma Devi is an akama devotee.
Definitely.
No, Prabhuji. even Bharata Maharaj, he left the kingdom and everything. Last moment, small deer, he get again another new life. It's not easy.
That's a perfect example, right? He was a genuine devotee, but still he was sa-karma. And he remembered that deer, like you're saying. So Krishna gave him fulfillment, but he let him keep his memories so he could come back, right? Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Shripad Bhakti Madhava Puri Maharaj Ki Jai. Srila Prabhupada, Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Gurudev, Srila Acharya Dev, Srila Tirtha Maharaj Ki Jai. Sri Rupanuga Guru Varga Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the worldwide devotees, Sama Bhaktiveda Vrinda Ki Jai. Jai Navadvip Dham Ki Jai, Mayapur Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ju Ki Jai. Yamuna Mai ki jai, Vrindavan Dham ki jai, Giri Govardhan Gupta Govardhan Dham ki jai, Shyam Radhakund ki jai, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Vrinda Devi ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai, Scientific Sankirtan Yagya ki jai, Princeton Bhaktivedanta Institute ki jai, Sri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Nitai Gaura Premanandi Hari 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 Bol. Jai Śrīmatī Uma Devi Dasi ki jai, Śrīmatī Tulsi Maharani Devi Dasi ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Das Brahmachari ki jai.
Jai Guru.
Hare Krishna. Dandava pranam.